Hello, this is Unit 2, and we're going to be working on a business letter this unit, as well as looking at memos and emails, business correspondence. And it's always reader-centered correspondence, reader-centered reports, and so forth. That's the whole point of this course, is thinking about the audience and what they need, what information they need, and presenting it in a way that's useful and persuasive to them. Reader-centered correspondence. First, let's talk about some technical writing conventions. Now, in this case, a convention is something that is expected. It is what is conventional. So each of these documents have conventions. We have conventions for technical writing, and we have conventions for emails, letters, and memos. Lost my thought there. All right, so memorize this. Technical writing always uses short paragraphs. Always uses short paragraphs because the information is technical and you want to give it in short spurts to the reader so they can absorb it. You will use single spacing within the paragraphs always, and double spacing between the paragraphs. It works out the same, so don't worry about that single spacing thing. We use white space a lot to help make things easy to read. So single spacing in the paragraphs. That's why I say set your defaults on your computer, because you'll forget single spacing and the default is double spacing or something. We don't want double spacing. We want 2 line spaces between paragraphs. We also don't use paragraph indentations. That's for different styles. That's for MLA and so forth. We like to have headings and subheadings. They are very useful in helping the reader keep the topic in their head and also in guiding us in how we're progressing with the topic. We also use a different font for print versus computer. Times New Roman usually for printed documents, and for computer publication it varies, but I prefer Calibri. And the font size should be 10 to 12. I prefer 12. So again, memorize these short paragraphs, single spacing within paragraphs, no paragraph indentations. All right, let's talk about conventions for memos. A memo is correspondence sent within an organization. You don't send a memo to someone who's not in your company. It's information that is relevant to the receiver, specifically to the receiver. You don't send memos to everyone in the company, just to the person who will need that information. Each company will probably have their own memo style and format. As you can see, here's one on the right. It has the big word memo at the top. The format that I want doesn't have that. I think that's, you can tell it's a memo even without that. They also have a header for their company, and this one is the school district. Then another convention is this heading, to, from, date, and RE. That could also be subject or goal. Notice that these are aligned, but then it's tabbed over so that these are aligned. Notice that those are aligned, to, from, date, and topic or subject. They have a line here. That's not absolutely necessary. Usually a memo is 1 page in length, but I have received many that are more than 1 page. Memo structure. Well, notice that there's one little paragraph here that's kind of a summary. It tells the purpose of the memo. So right away the reader will read it and say, okay, I need to read this completely now, or I can read it later, or I need to file this, or what. So this little summary paragraph tells the reader the purpose of the memo and how it relates to the reader. Then we start with headings, and those headings tell you what comes in the paragraph after it. So what a memo is, how to write it. Notice the use of a numbered list. A numbered list is used only when something must occur in a certain order, and that is the case here. If it doesn't have to occur in that order, then you can use a bulleted list. Notice the size of the paragraphs here. They're small. Notice that you have a little extra space between each of these numbered items. So that's a nice looking memo, and those are the conventions for memos. Be sure to read the printout on My Company Style for Memos. I want you to use that anytime I have a request for a memo. Business letters. The conventions for business letters. Layout and formatting. Probably you're all familiar with what a letter looks like, but the layout and formatting is it's the same almost everywhere. Block style, where everything is aligned on the left, is the most common. The inside return address, the date, inside address, the subject line, salutation, the letter, the signature block, everything is on the left margin. That's what's used mostly nowadays. Long time ago, they would indent things like at the top and the bottom. We typically don't do that anymore unless someone is old school. In a letter, just like in a memo, you get to the point quickly. What is the purpose for the letter? In the first paragraph. Now, you don't want to be rude or abrupt, but the first paragraph should tell that reader what this letter is about. Don't waste their time just being nice. Oh, I hope you're having a good day. No. Just get to the point. Using a letterhead is for companies. Or, if you have your own company, you can use a letterhead. We don't do it typically unless we are part of a company. The signature block is a cordial closing, like sincerely, comma, space, and then your printed name or typed name, and in the space you sign it. Now, I don't know why, but a lot of my students will do the sincerely, comma, and then they'll type their name, and that's it. Or they'll do sincerely, comma, and they'll sign their name, and that's it. There's 3 parts to the signature block. Yours cordially, comma, or sincerely, comma, signature, typed name. Also, envelopes. If you're doing a business letter, do not hand address an envelope. See how this one is hand addressed? That's really kind of tacky in today's world. You learn how to use the printer so that you can create labels, or you can feed envelopes into the printer. That looks much more professional. And again, be sure to read the printout for my letter requirements on what I want. I want block style. Okay, I want the signature block. And then there's some other things that you can put in there. Like, I want the return address, I want your name with it. Sometimes people don't put their name with it. At the bottom, you can put things like enclosures or C or CC for copies and who those go to. And the printout tells you about those. Also, salutations. We never use Miss, M-I-S-S, and we don't use Mrs. unless we know the reader prefers that. So it would be Dear Ms. Smith or Dear Mr. Smith. And if they have a title, we use that, Dear Dr. Smith. And then it's followed by a colon. But read the printout, you'll see. Emails. Emails, we have gotten kind of sloppy with our emails because they started out being rather informal, but now they've been adopted by the business world. So don't let your emails send a message that you don't intend. You want your emails in the business world to be professional, and you don't use abbreviations. You use emails pretty much like letters in the business world. If you want to be informal with someone, make it your friends, your parents, or someone. But in the business world, email should be professional, even if you are friends with your boss. Keep it on a more professional basis. Use more formality, not less. Use a clear, specific subject line. Never send an email with a blank subject line. And use a new email for a new topic. Don't keep adding to an old email because you're too lazy to look up the address. Use a new email for a new topic. Make sure you spell names correctly. Look it up. Don't, who likes to see their name misspelled? It sends a message about the writer, so don't do that. If you have a business, you can create a signature or contact block at the bottom. I have a signature block for an organization that I volunteer for. So you can do that and add it to emails. Be sure to edit multiple times and check again before sending. It is very embarrassing in a business to send something out and then have to try to retract it. It really says something about the sender. While we're at it, create a professional email address. Don't use the one that you've been using since junior high, especially if it is provocative. Use a professional email